Here are 5 ways that you can get more positive attention from men, and the great news is that they are all about what you can do and they don't rely on the entire culture of men changing. They're all implementable today. Number 1, let me say that before I became someone who received healthy, positive attention from men, I was pretty upset about men much of the time. I was kind of negative about how men presented in the world and the ways that I saw men treating women. It was really upsetting to me and I was pretty angry about it. And what I had to do is learn how to respect the masculine and respect who men are that is different from women. And I'm sorry I'm using a lot of gendered language, but it just became apparent that the way I viewed the world was really different from the way that most men view the world, and that those opinions clashing didn't have to mean that my way was better or that men's way was better, and that they could both exist at the same time. So the first thing that you need to do in order to start getting better attention from men is to start appreciating men for who they are that is different from you. And we could talk about this in a non-gendered way, just being like, appreciate who people are that's different from you. But there are actually ways that you can study that men are different from women and express themselves differently from women. And you can study it and begin to appreciate those differences and really begin to appreciate what those are. One of the big ones that I've noticed is that women tend to relate to things as relationships very easily, and men usually relate to things as purpose. They want to have a reason to do things, whereas women are just very willing to be open and have conversations, and they're thinking about developing relationship in dating, for example, and men really want to have a purpose when they're dating. Are they trying to sleep with someone? Are they trying to create a relationship? Are they trying to do, like, it's all very purpose driven. And if you can start to get these kind of little mini mindset shifts around how men are approaching dating, you are going to be equipped to receive all of their positive attention and all of the great things that men are ready to share with you. Most men are ready to share really incredible sides of themselves with you if you're willing to receive it. So first of all, be able to understand and appreciate their differences. Essentially, like men more. That can be easier said than done. The second thing to do is pretend you are beautiful and treat yourself like a queen. I, for one, am someone who thought I wasn't very ugly until my mid-20s, and I related to myself as someone who's just unattractive and not very intriguing and like super lucky, I guess, if a man looked at me. That is not going to be energy that gets you a lot of great positive attention that you can actually receive. So I'm not telling you to immediately change your mindset and just decide that you're a gorgeous person today. The idea is really just to get into the habit of treating yourself like an attractive person. So you want to just pretend. It's totally fine, because what I would say is you already are beautiful. You're already incredibly beautiful, but unfortunately, just because of the culture we live in, many of us grow up to believe that we aren't beautiful. We don't look like we're in a magazine. We don't belong there. So obviously, why would anyone find us attractive? Turns out people do find you attractive, but because it is a deep energetic thing, we'll talk about the actual aesthetic thing in a second, but much of it is energetic. So to shift that, you have to start behaving like you are attractive. And the other thing that happens when you start behaving like you're attractive is you start taking more care with your looks. You know, I finally started taking care of my curls. I bought lipstick that's the correct shade for my skin tone. These kinds of things will begin to happen to you if you begin relating to yourself as someone who is attractive. And then that carries out into the world, that carries out into your interactions with people, and especially with men. The third thing is one of the most important things. This one shift alone will change the kind of attention you get from men just right off the bat, and it's gratitude. So it's appreciating men for especially what they do, because men also love to be appreciated for their action, for the things that they have done. And so if you can start to pay attention to the things men are doing and thank them for it, or just generally express your appreciation and the way that you see their action, the things that they have done and the things that they've made and achieved, and begin to really acknowledge that, you will create a whole new level of rapport with that man, and he is going to be so much more likely to treat you in an amazing way and to really care about you. Number 4 is to have great boundaries. So this is another thing that back when I was upset about men and the way that men are in the world, I really just didn't have great boundaries, and I was quite afraid of what men would do. And this was also with reason, okay? If you're curious about all the reasons, you can read my book. But what's mainly important is that you can get to a place where you trust yourself to take care of yourself and to say no, and to not end up on dates in a part of town you didn't want to go to, that you had to drive somewhere that's not in your known area, your brainscape, and to know that you're generally going to be safe and you won't have to agree to anything emotionally or time-wise or whatever that's not good for you, that doesn't feed you energetically. So starting to have great boundaries and just saying no, or I can't do that, when that's the truth, when you really mean no and you can't do that, then you are going to be in such a better state of mind to be actually receiving the positive things that men are trying to give you and do for you. And the fifth thing, the final way that I really recommend, this is the big one, is that you learn to speak emotionally. This is the thing that really changed dating for me, is that I learned to speak to men in a way that they heard my emotions and they connected to me as an emotional being, and then they were able to share their emotional being with me. This is a huge lie that we've cultivated. Again, gonna blame culture. The lie that we've cultivated is this idea that men aren't as emotional, or they don't have as much emotional facility or whatever. But the case is that men just handle emotions differently, and they tend to live in sort of a different emotional landscape than women. And so what you need to do is learn to communicate. All you have to do is upgrade your communication skills around how to communicate emotions and how to communicate emotionally specifically, and your dating life will change. And the amount of attention that you get from men will change, and the quality of attention that you get from men will change. And I have a video on that. I will post it here somewhere, and I highly recommend you check that out and begin learning to communicate emotionally with men so that you can experience the best of men and receive all the goodness that men are here to give you, especially in dating and intimate relationships. And otherwise, like and subscribe to this video, and if there are any other videos you'd like to see, please leave a comment below and I will answer your question as quickly as I can. Thanks so much for being here. See you next time.